Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be making a Mediterranean style dish that's spicy, packed with flavor, high in protein and iron, and it comes together quickly for a great weeknight meal idea. At the end of the video, I'll break down the costs for this dish, as well as how long it took to make. So let's jump on in. So this dish starts with some hot or mild Italian sausage, whatever you'd prefer. I like to start with ready-made sausages. They really do a lot of heavy lifting in the flavor department because, of course, sausages are already highly seasoned, so they bring a big, bold taste to this dish. It's also a great shortcut to flavor for a weeknight dinner like this. So I'm going to start by cutting these into small bite-sized pieces. You could also remove the meat from the sausage casing and make them into rough little meatballs if you wanted to. And another tip that I didn't do here, but I should have, is to pop these sausages into the freezer for just 20 minutes or so before you slice them up. Makes them much easier to cut cleanly. Off to the side, I've got a large sauté pan heating up, and I'll just add the sausages to the pan as I go. Depending on the type of sausage you're using, you may need to add a bit of oil here if it's looking a little bit dry. And because they're such a large component of the dish's flavor, make sure that you're using a sausage that you actually really like the flavor of. Then I'll take half an onion and just roughly chop it up. This is a rustic family-style dish. It doesn't need to be perfect. I'll also roughly mince 2 cloves of garlic, as well as a sweet bell pepper. You could use green, orange, red, whatever you like. I'm using 3 little sweet peppers here. Once the sausage is cooked through, remove it from the pan and set it aside. Now, don't wash the pan out at this point. You definitely want to keep all that brown stuff that's stuck to the bottom of the pan that's full of flavor. So leave the pan with all that sausage residue in there, put it back on the heat, and add in the chopped onions, garlic, and peppers. Now, once the vegetables start to soften a little bit, you could add a splash of water or wine if you've got it, and then use a spoon or a spatula to scrape up all that fond, or the tasty, meaty bits off the bottom of the pan. Now we'll turn the heat down a bit and add some spices. Oregano, quite a lot of paprika here, as that's the other dominant flavor in this dish, so maybe even as much as 2 tablespoons. Cracked black pepper, and salt. Although not too much salt, as the sausage brings a fair bit of salt already. Now let this cook for a few minutes over a medium-low heat to bloom the spices and get the vegetables jazzed up with some of that flavor. And then we'll go in with a can of tomatoes. Now, sadly, this is the last jar of last summer's tomatoes that we have left over from canning. That said, it's already June, and our tomatoes for this year are in the ground and only a couple of weeks away from being ready to pick. We won't have too long to wait to can some more. And then we'll add those sausages back in, as well as a can of beans to boost up the protein and bulk out this recipe a little bit and make it more filling. So I'll stir all that together really well and then leave it to simmer over a low heat while I prepare the rest of the dish. I'm just going to steam some broccoli, simple and healthy. I'm also going to make some couscous, which is great for a weeknight dinner because it cooks in just a couple of minutes and it's pretty foolproof. To give it some extra flavor, I'll start by putting a bit of chicken bouillon into some water. I'll bring that to a boil and then add in some couscous. Give it a stir, and then pop the lid on and set it aside off the heat for a couple of minutes, and it'll be ready. Okay, final touches here. I've grabbed a few leaves of fresh basil from the garden. I'm going to stack these leaves up, roll them, and then chop them. You could use dried basil here, but it's definitely not going to be the same. I really recommend getting some fresh basil from the supermarket. Or even better, you could get a little pot and stick it on your windowsill, and then you always have it ready when you need it. All right, I've got the heat turned down now to low. This is all warmed through. All the flavors have melded together. Time to add in the basil and serve. So there it is, that's the dish. Hearty, spicy, it works in all seasons, it's delicious. So let's take a look at what this dish cost. As usual, the meat or the protein is going to be the most expensive item. Those sausages cost $5.47. And although the tomatoes I used were homegrown, I've included the cost of a can of tomatoes here. And that, along with the beans and the broccoli, are the other two largest components of this dish. Then some spices and seasonings rounding out the cost, bringing the total for the whole dish, including the couscous and the broccoli, to $14.26. Now we got 4 large portions out of this. There were some leftovers, not really enough to call it a full portion though, so we'll say this made 4 portions, and that means that each portion works out to a cost of $3.57. Not too bad for a weeknight meal. In terms of how long this dish took to bring together, there was less than 10 minutes of time spent prepping the sausage and vegetables, and then about a total of 25 minutes of cooking time. Definitely attainable on the average weeknight. Now, if you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, please do hit that like button. And as this is a brand new channel, I'd very much appreciate you subscribing so I can keep bringing you more videos. Talk soon.